to talk to you for just a minute about my philosophy about sex. It's hard to put a philosophy into words, and it's really hard to put a philosophy about sex into words because normally talking about sex isn't something we do very much of. Put it into words. But I'm a wordsmith, I'm a philosopher, and I am also a sexual being. And a teacher. So I'm gonna do my best to do that. In fact, I have so many ideas going in my head that I've put them down here. I've got some notes on my lap. I'm gonna refer to them and do my best to share my ideas about this with you. And I hope they're enlightening and help you think about things maybe a little differently. So here's my first question. Do you see sex as a blessing or as a curse in your marriage? On the surface, sex promises us a couple of things. Number one, intimacy. We get really intimate with another human being, so definitely intimacy. And the second thing is pleasure. And when those two promises are fulfilled, there's no better feeling in the world, really. But when those promises are not fulfilled, then something just is wrong across the board. Like everything in life seems to go gray or a little dark. So why is that? Why is our physical relationship, our sexuality, why is that so important? Why so concerning? And why is it so worth your time to consider and maybe even get a little education on? So to answer that, I have another question for you, which is, what do you think life is for? What do you think love is for? I just gave you a hint about what I think life is for. To me, life is all about love. Life is about creating love and about giving love and about receiving love and learning to love. That's what life is for in my book, literally. But what is the purpose of love? Maybe we don't think about that one as often. What is the purpose of love? I think the purpose of love is to create life, to give life, to share life, to feel life. That's the purpose of love. So in that sense, stay with me on this. In that sense, then, sex isn't just a part of life. It is life. It is life because if the purpose of life is to create love, to give love, to receive love, isn't that what you're doing in the sexual act? And at the same time, what's the purpose of love? Is to give life, to create life, to sustain life, to feel life. And isn't that what's happening in the sexual act? So sex then, or physical intimacy with our husbands, is what gives our relationship and us as women, our womanhood, life. So love and life, let's keep those together. In fact, I believe that just as your essence as a woman is all about love, that's what you do. Right? You create love, you nurture love, you spend your whole days thinking, feeling, everything's built on relationships, on love. So that if that's your fulfillment as a woman, aren't you also, your womanly body actually can create life, but not just you're creating a child, for instance. You create life by the way that you give love and nurture love and so forth. And this is all consummated and embodied, if you will, in your sexual self and your sexual relationship with your husband. All right, so ignoring that sexual aspect of yourself that's so integral to who you are as a woman. Ignoring that is, let's say, ignoring it or pretending that it doesn't exist, or your desire for it is not real or not important or whatever, that it's just okay right now the way it is, or that, well, thinking like that just isn't going to work. It's not going to work in the sense that it's not going to bring you real happiness, real fulfillment as an individual, and then obviously as a couple, as a husband and wife. So that's not going to work. Pretending, denying, postponing, all that's not going to work. What is going to work is education. Educating yourself over time in order to elevate your life, your personal life, your happiness, and to elevate your marriage, because again, that's all tied up. So educating ourselves on the nature and the purpose of sexuality in our womanhood and in our marriage, that's going to help elevate our thinking and our actions, which will then produce more and more happiness and fulfillment. If we're ready, and I mean really ready, to practice what we learn and practice with patience. Now, I am not talking about the tips and the tricks and all that you can get from books and magazines. I'm not talking about that. When I talk about educating ourselves, we're going to talk in conversations on physical intimacy. We're really going to talk about so much more than that. We're not going to focus on the mechanics of sex, because that is physical only. And if you go on a physical only route, that is not going to sustain a relationship over the long haul or propel it to progress over the long haul. So physical only, that isn't going to do. So what we're going to focus on is a union of minds, just like you have a union of bodies in the sexual relationship. We're going to focus on a union of minds. That means getting on the same page as your spouse about your physical intimacy, so that you both feel understood and appreciated. And all of that is obviously a prerequisite to a true union of your bodies. Okay, so that union of hearts, the union of minds. So if you are thinking of your relationship or sex in your marriage as more of a curse than a blessing, then we just need to begin with, to change our perspective a little bit. And the relationship we're going to think of in this new perspective is much more long-term. It's going to be a journey. Our marriage is going to be a journey with many different stages, many different seasons, and each season presents new opportunities for growth and exploration and joy and accomplishment and challenges, and all that comes through challenges usually. But if we give up or surrender, if you will, the idea that we can really experience something amazing through and because of our sexuality and our sexual relationship. If we give up too early on in our relationship because of a few episodes or a few years even of fear or fighting or struggle or disappointment, and just decide, well, we're never really going to connect here. The disconnect is our lot in life, then it's just never going to be great. We don't talk to each other about these things, and so we just kind of assume that maybe that's how sex is. It's just, we're always going to feel sort of inadequate. We're going to have these dry spells, and we get into negative emotion and blaming and anger and accusation and all of that. But what's really happening is way more. It's way deeper. than all of that. And those hiccups, those times, those dry spells, the times we feel the disconnect, if we can look at them more as hiccups instead of this is the way it's just going to be and always going to be, then we have something to work with. Then there's hope. We really have something we can work with. What I just described, though, about that journey, going through many challenges, many opportunities to overcome those challenges, that's all normal. Whatever it is you're experiencing, chances are it's all very, very normal. That struggle through the journey, and there's going to be obstacles along the way. So in the first conversation, in Conversations of Physical Intimacy, and that first conversation is broken down into 4 parts. We really go into some of those common or normal sort of challenges and struggles, and it's not really so important that they exist or whether or not they exist in your marriage. It's how you have faced them or how you will face them and deal with them and overcome them. So we're going to do that in our first 4-part conversation in Conversations on Physical Intimacy. And I promise to give you lots and lots of valuable, practical, tacticals, if you will, ways that you can actually act on the challenges in your marriage. And my husband, Dell, is going to help me do that. And we'll go through that with you, and you're going to listen to us. And then that model of conversation is going to be your model then for how you go forward in your own husband-wife conversations. We'll give you some conversation starters or prompts that you can work with or not, however you want to do it. And what we're finding out from our students is that it is extremely, extremely valuable. The conversations were insightful regarding my marriage. It gave us an opportunity to discuss things in non-pressured, open, honest way. Let me tell you, that's just the surface of the kind of exciting feedback that we've gotten from our students. You can look at a lot more about that on the page that this video links to, and you can do a lot more, learn a lot more at that page. Thanks for listening.